Hey, what's up? Zach here, and today I've got the all-new Asics Novablast 6, and there is some weird, wild stuff going on in these things. Some new technology, actually, in the midsole, and we're starting to get new foams again in shoes. We're getting past PEBA and PEBX, PEBA, PEBX, whatever you want to call it, and there are some big claims about what the technology in this shoe can do, whether or not it actually can do that in real life, and whether or not it's actually good for your feet, hips, lower back, kinetic chain in general. Yeah, find out. Let's get into it. All right, now first things first, starting off in the uppers, the entire makeup of them is a really tight woven upper. If you look at it on the breathability test, fog does get out if I push hard enough. The fog will get out of it, but, and you can see through it. It's such a tight mat on there that they don't breathe as well as some other shoes in its weight class. It is still an incredibly light upper. It's an incredibly strong upper. The tie down is really good. The lace line is reinforced. You get a runner's knot. Heel slippage on it is mild if you use the runner's knot or you don't. So I didn't after a while, and honestly, I was pretty comfortable. Tongue has a gusset, which is great because a lot of shoes in this weight class do not. The tongue breathes exceptionally well. You got some padding at the top. That's all well and good. Nice amount of padding around the heel counter and ankle collar. And honestly, the heel counter is actually a little bit stronger in these than some other shoes in its weight class. And so for a lightweight shoe, I would say the uppers are stronger. So they're gonna be a little more durable than others. It's just, they're not going to breathe as well as some others. They're a little bit more open pored. So if that's what you're looking, if you're looking for like a super breezy upper, these aren't it, but I will say the trade-off you get for a little bit more of that matted down upper, you do get in terms of lockdown, in terms of durability, in terms of like stability in the uppers. So it really just kind of depends what you want out of it. I wouldn't say it's not bad or good. It's just, it is what it is. All right, but getting into the midsole teardown, we all know Asics has phenomenal foams, super comfortable, some of the more durable foams on the market. And now we've got new chemistry, or relatively new chemistry. In the forefoot, we have an ATPU foam, not ETPU, ATPU, aliphatic thermoplastic polyurethane. Now we're starting to see these on some other shoes. You know, Asics isn't the first to do this, but it is relatively new. And what companies are claiming with ATPU is that because the chemical makeup of this foam is actually made in chains, not rings, that it's more durable and that it retains its bounce and its initial properties for longer. Whether that is the case, we will find out over time, but that is what is in the forefoot, and I also have some tests on this as well. The carrier that goes all the way around it, kind of encases it around the whole shoe, is FF Blast Max. That is an OBC foam. It's really similar to diaper elastic, basically. It's a blend foam. In this one, it's actually pretty dull, which is interesting, and that is kind of the case in a lot of Asics shoes. A lot more shock absorbing, a lot more cookie dough feeling, which in the rear foot of the shoe, that's kind of what you would want. I kind of like that. Look at this thing on the tensiometer. It only takes 35 newtons to get this thing to 45 degrees. And if you notice, this is something I was really keen on when I first took them out. It is actually really hard to bend these, but then once they bend, they crease very easily. So it's very, very hard, and then boop, once it hits that point of failure, it really goes. And it's going right here, right where you kind of get this. It almost looks like a forefoot rocker, but it's busting, or not busting, but it's bending right there. It's kind of in front of this interface. So it's actually a little bit further back than you would want. So if you're using these casually versus running, we'll talk about kind of what that means for you. But looking at these on the bounce height test where the rubber really meets the road. So in the rear foot, got 30 centimeters, which is what I would expect from this type of blend of OBCs. Like I said, way more shock absorbing and more durable, and that's what I would want. But in the forefoot, only 40 centimeters. I did this test, I did that bounce 10 times and averaged out. I mean, I was just curious, so I wanted to get like a large sample. And yeah, not as high as even some ETPUs out there. And so it's in that range, like 40 and above is what you see with more elastic, more resilient thermoplastics, but definitely not the highest bouncing foam we've ever seen. Now that's just one test with a ball bearing, right? That's not a human foot coming down on it. And you would assume, and in reality, like I said, we'll get to this in the fit section and everything, when a human foot is coming down with that much weight, it does feel a little bit different. So we'll get to that in the fit section. But just on the bench tests, pretty similar to other, you know, thermoplastic foams, kind of getting up there, but definitely not the craziest bounce we've ever seen. All right, but getting into the outsole tread, as you can see, they were trying to make the shoe bend right here, right? Because they put a jutted out pod of rubber here, and then they have break points here. So it is, you know, it's not full length, it's a few pods of tread. On the durability test on the belt sander, after 30 seconds, it did lose 0.4 grams, which honestly is a lot better than I thought it was gonna be on a shoe, kind of this light and with this little foam. I think as long as you're a little bit more of a natural striker, or a neutral striker, I should say, you'll be okay. I think if you start pronating Kingdom Come on these, you'll probably start wearing down more of the foam. And it also depends where you strike this shoe, which we'll talk about in the fit section. But all in all, it's pretty typical for a shoe in this weight class, just trying to get rid of as much rubber as possible, as well as trying to kind of make your landing pad durable enough. All right, but getting into the fit and the actual performance of the Novablast 6, number one, they do come in a little bit long at 29.2 centimeters. They do run a hair long. They do have 8.5 centimeters of rear foot width. Got this little jut out here in the heel. It's almost like a little heel flange on the medial and lateral sides. It is a little bit more width there than you would think. Only 7 degrees of inflare. It looks like it's much more. I think it's just an optical illusion with how the rubber is laid out, but it's only 7 degrees of inflare. And you got 10.2 centimeters of midfoot width, 10.2 of toe box width, 38-degree taper. So pretty typical taper up here. As you can see, comparing it to a barefoot shoe, it is not nearly a barefoot shoe, but it's just pretty run-of-the-mill for a running shoe these days. There's a ton of room in them, in the midfoot for sure. Like I was just free as a bird in these. So I'd say if you're a narrow foot, you can go down a half size just to get the length reduction, get a little bit more one-to-one. A medium, if you care about weight reduction, more that performance fit, you can go down a half size. Otherwise, I'd just say go true to size. A 2E can go true to size. I think a 4E, because of the length, I would probably go true to size. I wouldn't be going up more than 1/2 size on these, especially because the uppers, even though they're pretty strong, they are very, very compliant. So there's that. In terms of our foot types, in terms of flat, neutral, high, they're fine. In terms of an ankle sprainer, even though they are wider in the rear foot, I found myself able to roll these pretty easily. I think it's because of how the landing pad is on these, and I think it's also the foam interface. I think it's because, and I guess I should talk about runners in this now because it kind of crosses over. So there's an 8 centimeter or 0.8 centimeter drop on these things, right? So it's an 8 millimeter drop. And so it's a pretty normal drop, but it almost feels like if you're heel striking that you're running up a hill. And I think that's because the durometer of this foam is a little bit higher. It's not a 4-foot rocker, but this is definitely like, this is the point of contact right here in the 4-foot. And so I think because the rear foot's a little bit more cookie dough and you sink into it more versus the rear foot, it feels like you're going up a hill. And so it just feels like it's just not as stable. Now, if you're a midfoot striker or a 4-foot striker, it's just fine. I think you're A-okay. But there is, you look down the barrel of them, and I know they're trying to make a bunch of points of contact right here. You can kind of see it on the camera up here. But in reality, if you don't have more, like I say, like a neutral strike, you can feel a little bit of a shimmy there. Once it breaks in a little bit, I think it'll kind of flatten and it's fine. And the energy return you feel there, kind of the elasticity and the bounce you feel from a midfoot or 4-foot striker, it's really incredible. It's really nice. And so that is great. It's just that if you're a heel striker on these things, I feel like you don't get any of those benefits. And so if you are a heel striker, you just, I don't know, to me, I would look somewhere else just because of the shimmying and kind of those chronic repetitive things, kind of like plantar fasciitis. So if you're a mid or a 4-foot striker, I think you're fine. Achilles tendonitis, like I said, if you're a mid or a 4-foot striker, I think you're fine. But a heel striker, number one, because of how the shoe bends in the 4-foot, I think 4-foot pain, I do like the resiliency. I think, once again, if you're a mid or a 4-foot striker, I think you're fine. Arch pain, I think they do need an orthotic in them. Big toe arthritis, I think time will tell. I think with your orthotic of choice, because they do fit orthotics just fine, I think you're okay. And for knee, hip, and back pain, I think, once again, if you're a midfoot or a 4-foot striker, they're okay. In terms of you're using these casually for walking, I had no issues whatsoever because, you know, you're in double limb support all the time when you're walking. So both of your feet are engaging at the same time. And in that regard, they're fine. So I think this holds true. I think they're okay for ankle sprainers if you're a walker. So I think all of this holds true. I think they're good for all these if you're a walker and if you have, it's kind of like your orthotic of choice in there. I was really surprised at how many different types of orthotics these fit, and I didn't have really any issues. So I think they are good for that. It's just the heel striking runners, I think, can just feel like you're kind of going up a hill and you're trying to crest that hill. But do I think ATPU is worth the hype? To me, I think it's just as good as any other, you know, more, you know, quote unquote elastic or bounce focused thermoplastic foam. I think it's just as resilient as all of them. I think time will tell as we get more and more models of these. I think we do need more long-term testing of these in more compound. No. So do I think ATPU foam is worth the hype? I think it's just as good as any other thermoplastic. I think it's just as good as PEVX or PBEX, whatever you want to call it. Especially when you get it on foot, it does feel very full underfoot. I don't know if that's just because of the shape of these ones, but it does feel substantial. It does have that same resiliency, that elasticity, that feeling of bounce underfoot. To me, I think my favorite foam is still, you know, a nylon or a supercritical EVA just for the durability. Time will tell. You know, like I said, there's always going to be something new coming out, and I think, you know, to me, in terms of like the more quote-unquote bouncy, elastic type foams, my favorite is still a nylon-based foam. I still think that those have the most resiliency over time, but it is awesome that we are thinking kind of on the chemical level. And remember, I mean, it's science, right? It's chemistry, so it should do what it is advertised. Like I said, I'd like to see studies going longer miles on these versus EVA versus PEBA. Like I said, we've had those studies, thermoplastic versus EVA. I think it'd be cool to get more long-term studies on these in running shoes to see what they do over time. But it is nice to have options, and the more we iterate these and the more we mess around with the chemistry of them, the better they are gonna get. So love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you wanna see what is going on with On and what they are doing with their foam, their pods, how many pods they're making, the shape of the pods, and if that actually means anything, make sure you click into this video right here. I'll see you in the next one.